believing that we can have the best December ever. And December is a tricky month. And this is why I wanted to do these 12 experts, thinking about, I, I believe in my personal journey too. I woke up one day and I just said, you know what? I feel this calling of bringing community together and us learning more from each other about seasonal affective disorder, learning more about warming our body, learning more about whatever we want to learn. And I've been bringing in different experts with different realms of expertise and layering in the heart with also giving really good information. Today, I say that we're talking about cash flow because that's just kind of my CPA mind. But along with that, we're going to be talking about like financing and, and debt. And that is really beautiful stuff. And that's what can trigger us, especially in December, getting end of the year and going on to the new year. But the more information you have, the more understanding. And if, for example, if you start tracking something, things become more logical. And when they become more logical, then you have more information to work with and it helps you make those decisions. If you don't have that information, you're just making decisions based on emotions, or I need this or I need that, and it doesn't serve the overall purpose. So this information, I hope it's going to serve you in a way where you're going to feel, oh, I feel happier and now I understand more. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, Kari Hagensmith. Welcome in, my friend.
Hi, Rhonda. Great to be here with you. And you've had some amazing experts on already.
Thank you, my friend. I feel like I was reaching out to people. It was like just personal invites going, oh, I need to talk to this person and that person. It felt right to me that I wanted to have these conversations. And I've known you throughout the industry, throughout the years in this industry as, the speaker industry, the business industry, the nurturing and helping people get clarity on, on themselves and what's going on. So can we go there? And I would love to have a story about how you got connected with being with what you do right now. Can we get a little quick story in there? And you can
Oh, wow.
have the space, my friend. I know it sounds kind of big, but I know
It's
you have
very
many
big.
stories, I bet.
I do, but my favorite is I actually got connected with Success Motivation Institute back in the day, which is not a company most people are familiar with. I think Leadership Motivation Institute is probably the company left over that most people are familiar with. But Paul J. Meyer, I got the reason that I even got connected is because I'm a cold caller and a bold caller, and I don't know. Most people don't know the difference, but bold calling is walking in the door. Bold face, right in the door. I'll walk in anywhere, and cold calling is on the phone, right? So I did not like what I was doing. I was selling copiers and I did not want to do that anymore. I mean, most people would rather kick the copier than invite you in the door. So I went home one afternoon and I said, there are a couple things I do really well, or I'd like to explore. And so I actually took a powder one afternoon and I pulled out the old yellow pages in the late 80s and I picked up the phone and I cold called. And I
Wow.
said, I got a weird question for you. How did you learn to do what you do? And I did because I'm an auctioneer also. So I called people that are auctioneers. And I happened to call this one person, and his company was called Imagenetics, and he also happened to be working with Paul J. Meyer's business and his programs for goal setting. And he said, "Oh, well, I believe in serendipity. I have an appointment that canceled on me this afternoon. You want to come meet?" And I went, "Absolutely." And that's how it got started. I mean, you know, so I
Wow.
was introduced to his program that way, and I was with goal setting, and I used to work with executive teams
Mm,
in what was the company's goal. What were the company's goals for the next year? And then I
yeah.
worked with the executive teams on what their professional goals were individually. And then I worked with them individually. What were their families' goals and how could they line up? And what that really did, honestly, Rhonda, was it made them feel more connected to the business because their whole family ideal was connected to the business ideal. So that was very cool. So there's
Oh,
a story you probably didn't expect.
no, but it's I feel it's the way I live, and this is how I run the show a lot too. I've been running the show for 6 years, and I feel like everything, and so it's like a master class every time I get to be with people, and the people that are connecting with what we're doing here too. And what you're speaking to is like everything tethers together, like helps with your
Yes.
relationships. Family gets up leveled as the business gets up leveled, and you learn how to even better communicate, because usually we're communicating really good in our business because we just practice and practice and practice. We get home and we're shut down because we've been communicating only one way. But when you start bringing in family and start bringing in business, and they're in the right mindset, that growth mindset, I can see how powerful this is. So what you're doing right now, does it feel like you've gotten your calling it, because I'm hearing the heart center there, and that you're seeking like a new way of looking at things when it comes to the flow of money and helping families.
I love having a lot of arrows in my quiver as we were talking offline, right?
Yeah.
And the one that has been kind of a thread for over 30 years is I've been a speaker for Bradford Tax Solutions. And back in the day when we used to do it live, they would book me, or no, excuse me, I would book myself into real estate offices and breakfasts. And that was back in the day when I would say, "You're going to be there for 5 minutes. Let me fax this information to you and I'll call you right back." Right. And now the company just books me across the country, and I speak on Zoom to real estate associations and small business associations and so forth. And I'm very pleased that Farmers Insurance has selected me to be a speaker at their Las Vegas conference in April. So I'm very pleased. They have about 750 people coming.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased about that. So I will be there in Vegas live, which I get to do very seldom anymore, right? And
That's
then,
true. Yeah.
yeah, so that's very fun. And then I think I was telling you, I do one a month for the small business owners that I know across the country and that I've connected with. So I'm really pleased that I get to offer that. And then also, I have businesses kind of like yours, or financial businesses that want to sponsor me to do a presentation to their constituents because they want to bring it in as a value add.
Yeah.
So I get to do that as well, and I save them thousands of dollars in an hour.
Oh, I love that. I love that consulting aspect to it. Because people are able to see things that they are in misalignment with. And so to be able to learn with your expertise and being able to ask questions and all that kind of stuff, I can see how that would, like what we were talking about at the beginning, that this information, when you get to know your information, it's highly valuable, especially if you get to go out speaking, because I know you as a speaker too.
Do you love that? I do
Yeah.
love that. I spoke for Women's Council of Realtors locally a few months ago, but I just don't get out locally much anymore, right? Everything's on Zoom, but it does
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that in person is so special these days. I was just recently somewhere and feeling that the struggles that we're seeing out there, because everything is at a tightened space, from um, debt, from divorce, from, and it just goes down the line. People just
Yes.
really feeling in disarray.
Mhm.
What's some information or some things you want to share where where you find people struggling, or maybe some information and tools you want to give? I'm going to give you like a pivotal point here. Where would you like to go and play with this?
I think you said it in the beginning, and that is taking the blinders off. And I really have a passion for this because I'm pretty much a blinders person.
Mhm.
That right? I mean, that's a hard thing to admit.
Yeah, yeah.
And la 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 la, I'm gonna go along and everything will be fine.
Everything will be fine. You'll be fine.
Right. And that what I know from experience and from watching clients is that we spend much more time worrying about it, thinking about it, whether it's debt and how we're going to handle that, which we'll talk about in a minute, or it's deductions. I don't know if I'm documented. I don't know how to take it. Never mind, I'm not going to worry about it, but it's on your mind. And, we spend more time concerned about it than it actually takes to do it right if you know what right is.
Yeah.
So that's why I love putting the mind at ease when you really know what right is, and that they're not red flags. When you look at the taxes, I mean, there's so many rumors out there, Rhonda. I mean, we have
Mm,
spread rumors from business owner to business owner to business owner to realtor to, I mean, it's crazy what we say to each other, and we honestly don't have all the facts. And we believe what we hear. And sometimes we believe what the tax preparer is telling us
yeah.
in a way that they never said it to us that way. They
Mm,
say, "Oh, well, you're not eligible for that deduction." And what they mean is you're not documented for that deduction, so you can't take it this year. And what we hear as a business owner is, "Oh, well, I'll never be able to take it because I'm not eligible." And
yeah.
what they really meant was, "You're not documented this year. Would you like to document yourself next year? Because then you're completely eligible." Right? And
Well, the
you've heard that in
documentation
your
is really
business.
important, right, Carrie? So
Pardon?
we're just to hold that space for a moment. So documentation in itself. So not hiding, taking
Right.
those blinders off, but learning about like what your person is saying that's helping you and guide you consulting, but also
Yeah.
documentation. I heard too.
Yeah, it's everything. And just as a quick example, something they can learn today, and that is that your credit card statement or your ATM statement is not documentation to the IRS. Even though your tax preparer has asked for that, it is math for them. Yes, but it is not documentation if you're ever audited by the IRS. And there's that confusion. They ask for it, so you think it's documentation, but it's not. So there's the key. You have to know what documentation really means, right?
Yeah.
So we go over some of those things in my 1 hour presentation. So I get excited about helping people really separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. I was an auditor for 5 years, and I remember, and I was a nice auditor. There's people out there that just have so much joy in making
Yeah.
people feel uncomfortable. It's a terrible thing. Tax preparers and all that kind of stuff. So I love your heart center there. And I can remember that if you gave people information, then they would stop quivering and know
Yes.
that you had their best, your heart was with them, and that the stuff you
Yes.
were asking for, that they were emotionally open to it. Because if they
Yes.
were quivering, I would ask them something and they weren't able to learn like what I was asking or what can make it better for them, because they were just so far removed with not wanting any part of it. So how do you get people in a space where they can be in the room or Zoom, whatever,
Mhm.
and be able to hear and process it? Because we do have people that are dealing with some big emotional triggers around this stuff. So is there a space that you do to be able to kind of see them, make sure you're working the rooms they feel that they can actually truly hear you and get something, at least whatever layer you're able to get to at that point?
That's a great question. And my biggest uh, challenge or focus is on helping them understand their business owners first. And I do a lot with realtors, and so they don't think of themselves as business owners many times,
Hmm.
or insurance people. They think of themselves as merely an insurance rep
Yeah.
or a realtor. And you're a business owner first, and you've decided to open your business doors as something, that you do. But you're a business owner first. So I have to get you to think in terms of putting your business owner hat on and acting like a business owner and taking responsibility like a business owner. And then you can hear it a little better. And that's part of where I start when I start my seminars, is so that You want to be here now. And I always have to say, well, if you think that your accountant takes care of everything, why are you here for this 1 hour? What do you think I can bring to you? Right? What are you
Yeah.
hoping I could bring to you? You're here because you know that that's not really their job. You would love it to be a magical wand, but it's not, and you know that somewhere deep inside. So you know it's a responsibility we have, and it's not one we necessarily want to shoulder, but that's only because there's so much confusion around it. If I can take the confusion away, would you be willing to follow along? And when I get there, they go, "Oh, okay, maybe." They're not sure yet, but maybe, right?
Yeah. Because they may have not experienced it before. I I I can go into a room now. It's different than what I used to do and talk to people just about things, being able to see them. But we have to get there. We have to get there with the heart work
Yeah,
to be able to allow somebody to hear something new that they haven't been able to hear, even though it may be the same words.
correct.
What Carrie, with this, because this is why I like you so much. You're gentle and you're straightforward, but you're very. I love the straightforwardness because that helps. Because I don't know how the way I was raised. I only know stuff that's blunt and straightforward. So I've had people say, "Well, you really don't want to do," and they would say something, and they were trying to do it in a passive aggressive way, or like they
Hmm.
thought it was being gentle. But that always confused me, and
Me
I'm
too.
learning now. I'm like, oh, they're trying to tell me not to do that because I would say no, you're right. I don't want to do that. And then they would say it over and over, but in my brain, I didn't know what they meant. So with this, I do feel, and I didn't think of asking you this question, but what's your heart center work that you do when you're working with money and you're working with debt with somebody? What's the work that you do? I don't know if you've ever been asked that question, but I know you're very heart centered. I mean, is it taking breaths? Is it seeing somebody? Like, what do you feel emotionally that you've been doing to be so good at what you do? And for you to be one of those speakers that just, hey, go and speak at one of our big conferences because we trust you. So, what's the work that you're doing? And why I want to ask this, we have a lot of business owners that watch Fresh Talks Global Vision. That's what we're about, tethering lifestyle and vitality and all that. Can you get that information in a way that you know it's going to serve somebody that is afraid of this stuff and that they know that they'll be able to hear it and be more present with somebody like you because they need that connection and they need to really be balanced so they can grow,
Yes.
get next stage.
Especially when you're talking about debt, which happens to be another arrow that I have in my quiver, and that's uh, a software that I work with that allows us to eliminate the unnecessary debt without having to refinance we don't do any of that. The software takes care of it, which is just absolutely fabulous. But here's the biggest thing: is holding space before I get on a Zoom or before I'm going to meet with them.
Yeah,
Holding space for somebody, and you talk a lot about intuition. I know you do,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's allowing your own intuition to come into it about that person. I mean, kind of like you do with Robert, right? Your dog. Kind of tune into that person enough
yeah.
before so many times. And we talked about this. I'm launching a sales program at the end of January. But the biggest thing is we go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And we don't take the time to tune into the next conversation. And the last conversation that we left is probably not going to be anything like the next one we're going to have, especially
True.
when I'm talking debt,
Yeah.
because everybody has, pardon me, a different emotion around debt. And if we don't let this person exhaust all of the anxiety that they've got around debt, they're not going to hear what new information I might have to bring to them. So my solution doesn't matter a whit if I don't allow them to truly exhaust where they are now. Let it get all that bad air out. Tell me what
Yeah.
your experience has been. How has it felt? What are you hoping I can bring to you that would make things
Mm.
different for you? right? Which
Mhm.
is one of my favorite questions. You were willing to meet with me. What is it that you're hoping I could bring to you? And I don't know what I said that sparked this desire to meet with me. I could think I said something brilliant, and
Yeah.
what they heard was something completely different that really attached for them, right? And where debt is concerned, first of all, I start with debt is not a state of being. It is merely a tool. And it's so interesting when I say that, I watch their shoulders go, well, thank you for that,
Yeah.
right? It is not a state of being. Just because our country thinks it
Yeah.
isn't for you, right? It's only a tool. And debt is also leverage. I mean, when I go networking, you'll see me on the bottom after my first name, it just says debt is leverage. And people look at me like, well, what does that mean? I don't
I
know. What does
love
it
that
mean to
angle.
and I just get to ask them, what does it mean to you? And I find out where their headspace is around
Yeah.
debt, right? Because it doesn't mean everybody wants to be out of debt. It also means that they want to be able to use it for leverage. And we happen to have software that allows them to put in a scenario and it will predict when they would actually have it paid off rather than the bank's version. And they're like,
Yeah.
holy cats,
Yep.
right? So we had somebody with they're already actually happened to be clients. They were not clients of mine, but clients of a colleague. And they knew their car was dying and they said, okay, a $30,000 car seems reasonable. We'll, do a 60-month loan, but it didn't
Yeah.
add 60 months to their indebtedness. It only added about 11 months. So they went, okay, so what would the car we really want add? And it only added 14 months. And they went, okay. So they were able to buy the car they really wanted because they could put it through the system and it could predict for them exactly what would happen. And we find the sweet spot. I don't need to take all of your discretionary income. We don't need
Yeah.
to put you on a top ramen and peanut butter diet. I mean, this system will tell you where your sweet spot is, and you tell me how much discretionary income you have. I've used as little as $11 more than the income, than the amount they were paying on their bills. And I took them from 26.4 years down to 11.1 years with just $11 a month.
Wow.
So the tools that I have get exciting.
I know, and because I mean, I just love. Well, my favorite software is Excel, and it
Mm,
still is in my industry. I don't use it very much, but I gotta say that because it's like a magical software that you can do so much in. Because my head's still stuck in the CPA realm, and
right.
talking about money and talking about debt as leverage and timing, and not thinking that is your way to be running, your household, but it's a moment. It's a moment to get you to that step where you need a new car, or you're it's just time to up level.
Hmm.
And I could see how you could create dreams around this then.
Right. Well, an Excel is a fabulous tool, but it only tells you what has happened. It cannot predict what will happen.
That's right, because the
In this,
numbers are what they are. Well, you can do analysis, but it
not in
doesn't
the
tell
same
you.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
software will exactly show you what date you should pay it and how much you should pay. And once you execute it, the exciting part is, I'll have to show it to you sometime, Rhonda. The exciting part is our dashboard will show you how much future interest you just saved by making that $100 extra payment. And it will say, oh, you've just saved $154 in future interest because you made that $100 payment right now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Because you are, do you do stuff where people can come in as clients of yours, or is it that they need to come into the um, connect with you at the business? Like what kind of work are you doing? Because I want to make sure that people know how to get to you and ask these types of questions, learn about the software so they can strategize on their next steps in business and or purchasing things and
Hmm.
getting out of debt.
TSW Consultants is the name of my business, and you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and tswconsultants.com. It'll lead you right now to my link tree with a lot of my options for business owners and B2B stuff for sure. Um, and TSW stands for the secret weapon. And everybody says, okay,
Ooh.
Kari, so what's the secret weapon, right? I've been the secret weapon for a long time. Karen Wells and I were the secret weapon Inc. for years. And the secret weapon is profit, because you can make $1 million, but if you're spending $1 million to make $1 million, you've got a hobby.
Oh, I love you having that conversation because I always think about this as a business owner is you're looking like the strategies you're talking about to have somebody like you in their pocket. And some years you're going to have just fabulous flow based on so many ways in the way you run business, to your emotions, to what you're going through, to what the family's going through. And to be able to be flexible and know like how to make a decision based on maybe you want to slow things down to transition something. Okay, I need to talk to Kari because I need to understand where can I be cutting costs, and if I'm going to be incurring debt, how can I carry that forward? There's so many ways to be able to play with this, so I can understand why you are the secret weapon. Thank you for spending time with us. Is there something that you want to leave here in just like a stat or some special sauce of yours that you like to share before we exit out of this fabulous conversation, by the way?
Be willing to have a conversation. Be willing to take off the blinders and dip your toe into finding out where you are. It is so power. Knowledge truly is power, even if it's scary at first. We are we are actually very gentle in leading you through that, because it's not everybody's cup of tea to want to just dive in. So come and find out first if you want to know. Then we'll have that conversation before we take you through any process.
Oh, I feel this warm and fuzziness talking debt, cash flow,
I
money,
know.
finance. This is just, I mean, like, how do we get to play in all of this, which is true life? And
Yeah,
we really want to go foraging forward here. We're getting into the 2024 years, depending on when you're catching this video. But we're always moving forward if we are in that space of growth, because that growth space, it'll take us out of the past conversations that
yeah,
just have been cycling. We're known to carry 90% of the same conversation over and over every day. So
right.
I want to bring back Kari's information is to work with somebody like Kari that she really does sound like her alignment and branding of a secret weapon, but having a software that she trusts and knows that I got your back, because anybody that has your back, especially in life skills, is someone you really want to lean in and learn from. Kari, I appreciate your
Thank you,
heart
Rhonda.
and money conversation and debt conversation, because it all seemed like very logical, very easy. Appreciate you. Kari, you take care of yourself, and we will be connecting very soon. And my
Thank
community,
you.
I love you, Fresh Talks Global Vision. We are exiting out. We have a couple more conversations after this to finish off the week. And I want to tell you, this is going to be a fabulous December. We only have a few more days, but I want the tools that you learned this month to carry them forward. These are going to be tools that you can serve over and over. Look at the experts, connect with them. Please connect with Kari, because this is where you get to take your next step. And I usually don't do this many interviews. It's usually like every quarter or every month, just depending on what's going on. So I'm investing space to know that this is the best space for us to prepare and live in life so we feel safety. Because if we don't have freedom, safety, and or healing, then we're going to be stuck and we're going to get stuck in the stories, and we need to move forward. It's time. Love you, my friends, and appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Have a fabulous day.